between the boundaries of light and darkness, beyond even life and death itself, we must understand that the universe around us is comprised of things seen and unseen. Sometimes in our perception, we have to change our perspective and look at things differently. And sometimes that has to be from a paranormal point of view. There are things known and there are things unknown. And in between are the doors of perception. And the doorways of perception are now open. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your humble host, Dennis Carroll, and this is episode 20 of Paranormal Point of View. I want to welcome you all here tonight as we gather in the grotto for some good conversation. We're going to do a little vampire hunting tonight. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get into a lot of different subjects here. I want to say hello to everybody gathering now in the chat room, and definitely want to welcome you all here tonight. And hold on just a second, I'm getting a little bit of an echo. There we go. And I want to say hello to Millie, Addicted to Knowledge 39, John Temrin, and we got some more coming in here. Hold on, let's see. All right, it's going to be an interesting subject tonight. By the way, we're getting into. Um, I have a lot of people look at me strangely when I say there are such things as vampires and werewolves, but they are not what you think they are. They are the things of Hollywood. You got to set Hollywood aside, okay, and look at the folklore. The folklore tells us more than what screenplays will do, okay, and the real truth of the matter to that extent. So there are such beings, there are such things that exist as vampires, werewolves, and stuff like that. Take it from an old Monster Hunter. They are real, and they are out there, and they walk among us without a doubt. Absolutely. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit tonight. Hello, Kimberly, and Lori, and the girl and her gong. Good to see you here, dear. And there are such things, definitely, but they're not what like I said, Hollywood paints them to be. That's the thing of Hollywood. Hollywood's always about the glamorous thing, and they're always about the. I say they put like, they exaggerate immensely on a lot of these things because they want the dramatic effect. That's Hollywood. That's the way they work. That's the way they roll. So we've got to put that aside and remember, definitely that's part of it. There's a little part of it. They base a lot of their stuff on their research, definitely, but it's not the whole picture. Okay, so we got to remember that definitely. And I'll say this: I got my hunting hat on tonight. Got my rattlesnake rattle there at the end. That's a 10-button rattlesnake rattler there, by the way. And it's raining outside, so that's why I have my hat on. Actually, let me take my lid off for a while. And let's get down to some business here. Definitely put my glasses on, see what we got going on. Hello, Luna. And I don't talk a whole lot about a lot of my cases because a lot of them, I have to say this about some of my cases. A lot of them are definitely very personal to the people that were involved, not just to me, but I mean to the people the clients that were involved. So a lot of times my hands are tied. I can't really talk about some of these things because I have sworn secrecy to these people. I can kind of get around a little bit of that, but I have to be very careful how I do that. Okay, to bring forth on that. Now we had a great show the other day, Jessica and I. We had a great show. If you haven't got a chance, check it out. We were talking about some of the precepts that the Vatican is about to come out with, and I think that's the 17th of May. They're going to publish uh, a set of guidelines to address paranormal activity, apparitions, stuff like that. So we're kind of waiting for. Let's turn that down a little bit. A little bit. I'm a little bit too bright here. I don't want to be too bright. And hello, Philip. And we're waiting to see how they're going to address that because it's an update to the older guidelines. Okay, so we're waiting to check on that. Also, I'm going to talk about a TV series tonight that I'm going to warn you about. Okay, we're going to get into that in a few minutes there. Hello, Shenandoah Valley Girl. Good to have you here. And Monica. So, and David Lester, my good brother. And definitely, we're going to get into some of that stuff. But like I say, I have to be very careful how I present it. But I can talk about this case that I'm going to in a few minutes. I have never actually talked to anyone about this. Okay, so this is the first time this is going to be out in public. This vampire case that I worked on. I worked on several vampire cases in my time, and I'm not going to get into those tonight because most of you have heard those cases. But on a future date, when I do a show on nothing but vampires again, I will definitely do a Hunting the Shadows episode on vampires. I will tell those stories again. But they're kind of, there's no need to go into them tonight about the vampire girl I met in the graveyard. And then the woman who came to me who thought her mother was a returning vampire. That was another interesting case. And I also had a voodoo case. You might remember me telling you about that in the past, where there I encountered a vampire spirit. Okay, that's a different thing. Now these things, I'm gonna tell you this. Okay, vampires and werewolves and all these other things, they are real, but they exist in a spiritual realm. But sometimes that spiritual realm crosses over into our physical realm. Okay. Just like I say in the introduction to this show, there are things known and unknown. There are things seen and unseen around us. It does not mean they don't exist. They do, and they can badly affect you sometimes, whether you believe in them or not. They believe in you. Hello, Juno. And hello, Crystal. Good to have you here. And anyway, we've got to remember that's what we're dealing with, okay, along that level. But the case I'm going to talk about tonight, and I call it the case of the struck tombstone. I know that sounds really weird, and I'm going to explain exactly what that means in a little while here. The struck, like you strike something, the struck tombstone, the case of the struck tombstone, and it is a vampire case, okay? And I had to do a little vampire hunting with this. So that is the freaky part of it. So I will get into that in a little bit, but we got some other business to take care of first. Also, our last episode of Hunting the Shadows was with my good friend Barry Littleton. If you didn't see it, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on the playlist on the channel, Hunting the Shadows podcast channel. It's on the playlist. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Barry and I had a great show. We talked about one of our favorite subjects, definitely time travel. So you definitely, if you missed it, you definitely want to catch up on that, okay? And so anyway, I think I'll put my hat back on for a while. And let me straighten my rattlesnake rattle out a little bit there. It has to hang down the back, okay? That's just the way it rolls with that. But anyway, get a little bit chilly in there now. I don't wear my hat for a while. So anyway, yeah, that was a good one, Monica. We're very definitely. And I have some more guests. I'm going to line. I'm definitely going to get my good friend, the cryptid huntress, in here, and I'm going to do a fantastic interview with her. And I want to find out how she became the cryptid huntress. Okay, I love origins of things. I like to see. I was taught long ago that if you find the beginning of something, and sometimes you know what its ending is, and you can fill in the story in the middle. But if you find the beginning, you understand it so much better on the beginning of anything, okay? And everything, even people, of course, have an origin. And as a writer, I am fascinated by that. No end, okay? And I think other people like that too. So we we'll definitely do that in the future. Okay, Ronald, good to have you here. And I'm on my laptop tonight, so I usually use my tablet, but I'm on my laptop tonight. So I'm doing. Hopefully, we'll do a little bit better with the comments that you want me to put up. Hopefully, I'm still new at this. It takes me a while to get to it. But anyway, uh, hey Shinval girl, good to have you here, dear. Hope you're doing okay. And yeah, that poor girl has a hard time. She has to run herd on David Lester. Okay, so we all need to back her up when she needs it. Okay. So anyway, I have to pick on David a little bit every once in a while. And anyway, yeah, that was a great show with Barry, and I will definitely line up some more guests in the future. Like I said, I don't want to bore you with just me all the time. Okay, I'm sure you'll get tired of that eventually. And so I want to get some good guests in here and entertain you with that a little bit more. And the more people you get in, the more you talk about things like that, the more discussions you get, the more people can understand, and they can learn more from it too that way. So I'm all about learning, you know that. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about a certain television series, okay? And I don't have any movies to review tonight, so I'm doing a TV series for you, okay? And I'm going to get into that. Um, I'm giving a thumbs down on this one, okay? And I'll tell you why in a minute. But I tried to like this. I tried to watch it because I like all things that are paranormal. And this series is on Prime, Amazon Prime, and it is called Outer Range. Okay, Outer Range. And it is a sort of a Western, a modern day Western, about a ranching family in Wyoming, I think. And on their property is a Mel's Hole. You remember the very famous story about Mel's Hole? The hole that, you know, people went down in and came out insane and all kinds of weird stuff. I know you probably have heard about Mel's Hole. And Mel's Hole has been known for many, many decades now. And thank you, Juno. And I better put that up so that everybody else can see what I'm talking about. I get irritated when somebody says something like that, and I say, "What's he talking about?" But thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And uh, uh, I try to like this series, okay? But I want to tell you what turned me against it. And I tried to watch. I think I got 5 or 6 episodes into this. I don't know how many episodes there are. There are probably, I think, around 20 episodes. I think it was 2 seasons of this. And I had heard some about it, you know, in the past. I've been I'm late on a lot of this stuff, so I'm catching up on some of this stuff. So I'm catching up on Outer Range, and I like the premise of it. This hole that's got something to do. It's like a hole in space and time on this ranch land. Okay, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I had to finally just quit watching this thing, and I'll tell you why. This whole series, folks, was just downright satanic. And you know, sometimes, and you know me, I'm going to call it the way I see it. Okay, remember my saying. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. Okay, and I have to give you my observation on something. That's just my opinion, though. You might want to check it out for yourself. But this series was downright satanic. I mean, I could feel this spiritual wise. Okay, and all through this series, you kept seeing this um, symbol. Okay, Okay, all through the series. Now the ranch has it like this over the gate. Okay, oh, it's upside down. Okay, has it like that over the gate because it stands for the name of the family. Abbott is the name of the family that owns this. But let me tell you something about that and about this symbol. Okay, if you look, it can go this way, it can go that way. It can have a line in it, and it cannot have a line in it. Okay, these are vampires and satanic symbols, folks. Okay, I want to tell you that. And all through this series, people are getting marked with this. There are marks on this everywhere you look. And I'm going to tell you, and that's not just the one thing, okay? There are other things in this too, in this series. This is why I'm telling you, really, you might want to avoid it because I could feel a very bad spiritual connection with this for some reason. I don't usually do that with TV series and movies most of the time. I can tell when a movie is has a very bad satanical type feel to it. And Ronald says that's why I don't try not to watch TV. Yeah, well, I was interested in hopefully being paranormal, but it goes beyond just that. It's not like that's not what the story's about itself. To that extent, it's about this big hole and what he does, but that's sort of a side thing. But I don't know. I just got a bad satanical. Let me tell you what this is. Okay, this is a sign of a demon. This is his symbol. This is the sign, the symbol of the demon Asmodeus, a prince of hell. Okay, folks, what is this doing in a TV series? Okay, I'll tell you what it's doing there. Okay, this is very subliminal stuff here, folks, and you got to really watch out. Some of the stuff you watch. Okay, let me say this. I'm gonna make this statement to you. Okay, be careful, my friends, of the darkness, the dark imagery that you take in with your eyes. Okay? What? Let me say that again. Be careful of the dark imagery that you take in with your eyes. Okay? Because it can very badly spiritually be detrimental to you. Be very, very careful, okay? I'm not going to tell you what to watch and what not to watch. I'm not the judge of this, but I'm just telling you what I know, what I feel, and what's going on with this. And this is not just one thing that does this. There are a lot of series and movies that are doing this kind of stuff. And in this series, by the way, it's so gosh darn woke. You can't even watch it. Okay, it is so woke. Hollywood's going woke and broke. Okay, it's just pushing a lot of stuff. I'm not going to get into it because I'll get into trouble. I'm not going to get political tonight. Okay, every time I get political, people get mad at me. So I'm trying to avoid that. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to cause bad feelings, no matter which way you look at it. But I'm just warning you, this stuff is out there. It's going on. It's the real deal. Okay, trust me. I'm getting kind of warm now. I'm getting heated up. Okay. Trust me, this is the real deal. Okay. So be very careful. And it's like Barry and I said the other night. We was talking on the. They want to divide us, folks. Okay. They want to divide us up. They want to breed hatred between races, between religions, between political outlooks, between people, whatever the situation is. This is evil at work. Okay. You ever seen that sign, men at work? Okay. This is evil at work. Okay. And there are signs that you can see on this. Okay. That's true, Wildman's mom. The eyes are the windows of the soul. Uh, this is not a documentary though. This is a TV series based on a family. It was already at the beginning of it. There's a murder. There's all kinds of. It's just bad mojo here, folks. Okay, you get a bad dark juju going on here. To me, I could feel it. The deeper I got into the series, and like I said, I tried to stay away and watch it a while. it's just that overwhelming demological type feeling here. Okay, that's all I can tell you. So I just wanted to warn you about it. Monica says not only that, they're trying to go after God's children. Absolutely. And in this series, they have actually attacked God. And they have actually, there's so much blasphemy in this movie. I mean, in this TV series. There's so much going on. It's just a dark spiritual experience that you really don't need. Okay? Let me just put it that way. Movies and TV are black magic, illusions, words are made from Hollywood. Absolutely, I agree with you 100% on that. Hollyweird is in business to do this stuff to us, folks. And their boss is not a guy with a set of horns, okay? He don't have horns. Forget about that. That's Goat Man, by the way. He don't have horns, okay? But he has a plan. He has a plan. You don't have horns, you don't have a tail, you don't have a pitchfork, but he's got a plan. And he's in everything in our world, and we've got to understand that, okay? And we must understand that and take it from there. Because that's the way that works. But I just want to warn you about this. Do not, in my own humble opinion, don't waste your time or bruise your spirit up on this kind of stuff, okay? Try to stay light. What series? I missed it. Oh, John Temperance. It's called Outer Range. Kind of like the Outer Limits, but Outer Range. And like there's a big hole on this ranch property. And the hole does some weird stuff. It's a hole in time and space. But that's not what, it's not really, that's part of the series. The other part of the people and how they live, the lives they do. And it's just, and if young people are watching this, I feel sorry for them. Okay, I'm not gonna go there tonight. I'm just warning you. This is bad spiritual stuff here. Okay, it's dark stuff that you really don't need in your life. Okay, or your family's life. So I warn you against this Outer Range. That's the name of it. I try to get into it because it's got a little paranormal in it, but that's not what this main objective is. I know without a doubt what its main objective is. It's what Hollywood's main objective is nowadays, okay? And they are pushing this demonical stuff on everybody, folks. They are attacking Christianity. They are attacking races, not just the black race. They're attacking the white race. They are attacking the Native American race. They are doing some bad stuff here. Okay. And believe me, I don't know. I don't know where this is all going, but it's going to hell in a handbasket. Okay. I hate to say that, but that's where Hollywood's headed. And I can see what they're up to. Okay. I'm not going to get in. That's a show for another time on another night. Okay. But I can see I know what they're up to. Okay. And that's why I'm writing a book about it right now called The God Game. They're playing a God game. All right. The gods of this world are not who you think they are. The real God of this world is not the God in heaven on his throne, okay? This world has been stolen. It's been taken over. It's been invaded by the worst bunch of aliens you could ever think of, okay? And I'm not talking about bug-eyed aliens from Alpha Centauri either. Read my book, The Road Unseen. You'll know what I'm talking about. The devil roams to and fro, seeking on the range, seeking whom he can devour. Absolutely, he's on the range too. He's not just the deer and antelope roaming around out on the range either. Huh? They also use subliminals that can only. Oh yeah. This thing is full of subliminals, Abbott. Full of it. By the way, the name of this family is Abbott. The last name is Abbott, and there's another family called I think Terrell or something, but. But I mean, come on. What is this imagery doing in there? You know what I'm saying? And constantly, every show, somewhere in the background, you got the seal of the demon Asmodeus. That's what it is. Okay? He is the demon of luxury and lust. He is an evil prince of hell. What are you putting that in there for? Come on. They could have had any other symbol, but I don't know. Yeah, I know what they're up to. I know I did. Sooner people stop worshiping Hollywood, the better false idols, and they are not who people think they are. Absolutely addicted to knowledge. I agree 100% with you. We are living in some bad, demonical times, folks. And that lion, that devil, the lion, is out to eat us all up. Definitely. Hello, Wizard Moon. Good to have you here. I'm warning people about a TV series called Outer Range. You don't want to mess with it. It is very demonical. So that's my review tonight. That's a thumbs down. Okay. Do not waste your time on this Hollywood drivel. Demonic drivel is what it is. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, we're going to talk vampires tonight. Speaking of more demons, we're going to talk about vampires tonight. And we'll make sure you, let's see. And make sure you got your cross handy. Okay. And your mallet and stake. Okay. I keep them handy just in case. Okay. But anyway, just having a little fun with you there. I don't usually go around staking people here. Okay. Like if you see me staking somebody, it's for the real deal. All right. But anyway, I'm gonna talk about my case tonight. It was an interesting case, and the case of the struck tombstone. Now, like I say, I ran into the girl in the cemetery. This was years ago. That supposedly was a vampire. I think she was the real deal. I can't really say that for sure, 100%. I didn't have my vampire test kit with me. Okay, that I didn't run any tests on her. Okay, but if she wasn't the real thing, she will do till the real thing comes along. Okay, put it that way. But then I had the very strange case of a lady that came to me that really believed without doubt that her mother was a vampire, a returning vampire, uh, accosting her in her dreams. Now, I'm not going to get into it tonight. Like I said, this is for a show another time. But there are many different types of vampires. There are psychic vampires. There are demonic vampires. There are living vampires. The list goes. There are gangs and cults of vampires. By the way, one of the symbols of the vampire cults is this as well, by the way. And it can go up like that, which stands for vampire as well. And by the way, that demon is supposed to be the king of vampires too, supposedly. I won't get into that. That's a gang sign for the vampires, cults, and all that. And that's another dangerous subject for another night. But now, this case that I got involved in, like I say, it's a lot different than even the voodoo case where I ran into the vampire spirit that was attacking that woman. It was draining her of her life's essence. It was draining her soul of her life, actually, her spiritual essence, you might say. There are different types of vampires that do that differently, by the way. But I'm not going to get into that tonight either. But I'm going to tell you about this case. Like I say, a lot of cases I can't tell you about because they were personal, but this one was one I was put on a hunt. Now, for most of my life, people who know I've always been interested in the paranormal and the supernatural. And people many times bring stuff to me. They'll tell me their stories. They'll show me their photographs. They want to tell their or someone else or someone they know's experiences that they've had with the unknown and the occult and stuff like that. I've had a lot of thousands of that over the years. Okay, over the many decades that I've been involved in this, and uh, it only lasted 2 seasons. I hope it's over with. I mean, the Prime is running it right now, Abbott, by the way. But I hope it's over with. I hope people do not need that. So anyway, getting back to the vampire case, people will bring me these things. They'll come and tell me things. So I got word sent to me one day that there was a certain cemetery where a certain person, I can't name names, okay, and I can't name locations because I could get sued for this, okay? There would be a defamation suit, okay? So I have to be very careful how I approach this. But anyway, there are, word was sent to me that there was a certain location, a certain person, a man, and by the way, he was a black man, an African American, and he was a very supposedly wicked man, very evil man, and he was buried supposedly in this cemetery. And they told me where it was at, and they told me his name. I don't really truly could not tell you the name. I think I remember it, but I'm not sure. But that's beside the point. You don't need his name. But anyway, he was supposed to be a very wicked man who was like into voodoo and stuff like that. Now, let me tell you about this. You know that I have shared my experience with you about. Hello, Overbill. Good to have you here, man. Um, I shared my experience I had that time when I saw an actual, real, true voodoo ceremony. Very dangerous situation I was in when I saw that. Let me tell you something about voodoo for just a moment. One of the most dangerous aspects of this weird religion, and I call it weird because it is weird, is that they allow spirits inside their bodies. They allow themselves to be ridden. They call it being ridden by the spirits, like you would ride a horse. But they are allowing themselves to be possessed. Say it for what it truly is. It is demonic possession, spiritual possession, and they allow their bodies to be taken over. And this man was supposedly he was such a wicked and evil man. He was very mean and hateful and just evil to his family, to people he knew. He was into all kinds of evil stuff. Okay, this guy was bad news. And he beat his wife. He just did all kind of horrible things. Okay, and no, he may have murdered somebody. He probably did to get the power that he supposedly had. I'm sure he did murder somebody. To obtain this dark power, you have to take and spill human blood. And to the more power you get, the more lives you take, the more power you get up the dark ladder that they're climbing and this stuff. Okay, it's a satanic ladder. Okay. But I'm sure he killed more than one person if he obtained the power of the vampire. Now, in these satanic cults, you can you can shapeshift. When you get to a certain level, the demonic power allows you to manifest in different ways. You can become an animal, you can become like a tiger or a black panther. You can become a wolf, like a werewolf. You can become a vampire, like a real vampire, okay? I'm not talking about somebody walking around with fake teeth. I'm talking about the real deal because this is demonic power that you're hooking up. These things can be done. Now, believe me, this is real stuff, okay? This is not made up stuff. This is dark magic here, folks. This is the dark arts, and this is what a lot of them want to achieve. He was probably possessed, Monica. Oh, without a doubt. Because in order to obtain this power, you have to have a what the Bible used to call a familiar spirit. Now, what does that term mean? It simply means you're hooked into demonic power. You have a lot of times you have not you may have the influence around you and may not absolutely possessed, but most of the time you are possessed and you are cooperating with these dark forces. That's what gives you the power to molecularly change yourself into whatever it is you want to be. That is the way the skinwalker works. Okay, the Diablero, the Yi Natalushi, whatever name you want to call them. The Hopi call them different names than the Navajo. Uh, Whatever the situation, okay, you have to obtain this dark power to do this because it is a supernatural power to be able to shapeshift. Okay, whatever that situation is. So I'm sure this guy was into that. As evil as he sounded, but I didn't get his whole history. Okay, I would love to have his whole history, but I'm just supposing a lot of this. I'm not absolutely 100% sure on it. But if he was that downright wicked, he definitely had a familiar spirit thing going on. He had a demonic contract, put it that way. And I have actually known people, folks, that have held demonic contracts. You don't ever want to come make a deal like that, okay? When you make a deal with the devil, there's only one way to get out of it usually, and that's dying. And even then, that won't get you out of it, because then you've got to really face the music, okay? But most of the time, that's how you get out of a contract. You have to die, but you won't get out of it in the next world, my friends. That's the bad part of it all. When you sell your soul and it's gone for good. Okay, usually most of the time. There have been certain rare cases where God has pulled people back from the edge, but I think those people still had a little hope left in them. They weren't completely lost souls. Okay. Anyway, I won't get into that tonight. Jessica and Barry did a great show last night on the Black Eyed Children, and I mentioned something on their show. I was doing a little stuff I was in the chat room, and I said that some of these Black Eyed Children, just like some of the Men in Black, may be lost souls. They may be agents of evil. To become a complete agent of evil, you have to give up your soul completely. You have to sell your soul completely to the darkness. There ain't usually no coming back from that, folks. Okay, you doom yourself to hell on whatever's coming after hell, which is even worse. Believe that or not, there are things worse than hell, but I'm not going to get into that tonight either. But anyway, there is a place worse than hell. Okay, but that's the fate of these things. That's where they're going. Okay, don't make it yours. Abbott says the pufferfish potion is the basis of voodoo zombie ritual, temporary parasite. Yeah, I know. The pufferfish actually was. I'm rewatching another series on Prime, by the way, Grimm. You remember that? I used to love to watch Grimm. Now Grimm was not quite so dark. Grimm was based in folklore. That's why I liked it so much. And I'm rewatching Grimm, which I think had 6 seasons. And then one of the things, the voodoo god Baron Samedi shows up, and he's like a puffer fish, and he turns into puffer, and he blows this juju juice on you, and he turns you into a zombie. Okay, I don't know if you remember that from Grimm, but that's been a long time back. But anyway, Grimm was a great TV show back when Hollywood knew how to make shows. Okay, but anyway, I won't get into that. It's way before the woke era. Everything's woke now. They've completely destroyed it. I would not. You cannot hardly pay me to walk to give the money to a movie house and walk in, sit down, and watch any of these movies anymore, folks. I'm telling you, they're just so woke. It's terrible. Worse than hell. Yep. Worse than hell. There are places worse than hell. The lake of eternal fire, which is where hell is going to end up at, my friend. That's the place worse than hell. But anyway, I won't get into that tonight. But anyway, I don't have his whole record, but I'm sure he was a possessed individual. But here's the interesting thing, and here's the story, and what got me interested in it. And I went on the hunt for this vampire because they said he was a vampire. They said that he actually drank blood. Okay, that's what they told me. And they said he was so bad he even drank blood and did stuff like that. I'm sure he spilled blood, and I'm sure he drank it too. That when this guy was so mean and evil, listen to this now. And this is the way the story went. And that's why I call this the case of the struck tombstone. Okay. And when this guy was buried in this cemetery, on the very day that he was buried, they had just got him covered when this terrible thunderstorm came up and lightning struck his tombstone and supposedly put a crack in it that looked like a pitchfork. Okay? That was the story. And so the interesting thing was they said, Dennis, you need to go see this tombstone with a pitchfork on it. Okay? And that was the story behind it. I said, oh, well, okay, you know me. I got to go check that out. So I went on the hunt for this vampire in this cemetery. And it was a big cemetery. And I had to check. I got some misinformation on some of this. I had to check a couple of cemeteries before I found the right one. So it was quite a little bit of a hunt, okay? And hey, John, I'm telling about my vampire case that I've never told anybody about. So you may have to go back and catch up on some of this. But I found it very interesting that this evil vampire guy was so evil that the moment they put him in the ground, God kind of cursed him by hitting his tombstone with a lightning bolt. That is strange, okay? I never heard of anything like that. Maybe there are some other stories that are like that. I don't know. But I just had never heard of it at that time. There have been some interesting kind of quasi similar type stories, but I won't get into that tonight. Anyway, I said, well, they said, you got to go check out this tombstone because the crack looks like a pitchfork. So I finally found the tombstone. And I want to tell you what, okay? I've stood at a lot of graves. I've visited a lot of graves and graveyards in my time. I wish I had $1 for every one I've ever been in. I'd be a rich man. But that was one of the most bizarre, most, what's the word I'm looking for? Macabre type incidences I've run into. I got a very freaky feeling standing there. Because, and here's the weird thing about all this was not fresh. This had happened like 4 or 5 years before I went there, okay? But there was not a blade of grass growing on that. Now, the ground had already sunk in. You know, when you dig a grave, you got a little bit of a mound, but eventually that mound will settle and you got flat land, okay? It had already done that. It was already settled. But the weird thing was not a blade of grass was growing on that grave, okay? I should have, and like I said, I could go back and kick myself. Should have taken a picture of this, but I didn't do it. And I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you the aftermath of this. That was very freaky to stand there at the graveside. And this was not a mausoleum. Now this was in the ground burial type thing. And I'm standing there looking at this, and sure enough, the tombstone is cracked. Okay, and it was a marble. I'm gonna say it might have been Georgia marble. Okay, but it's sort of that red kind of marble, that kind of reddish colored marble. I remember that. I remember the name on there. And I think it had something on like he left us too soon. I thought that was kind of funny. They probably wanted him to go, like quicker than that if he was that bad. I'm not gonna joke about that though. But anyway, sure enough, it had a crack in it. Okay, and there was like a chip missing out of the top of it. Just not a real big chip. There's some kind of, maybe the size of a quarter or something. A chip out of the top of it, and there was definitely a crack running down it. And I guess if you had a little imagination, it would kind of look like a pitchfork. A little bit, okay? But it was not you kind of help it along with your imagination a little bit, okay? I was a little disappointed in it, but it was still I got a very eerie feeling there, and I really wanted to leave. It was just that kind of situation with, heck, okay, so I found it, and it does have a crack and all that. A few years after that, I checked again. I told some people about it, and they said, well, God, you got to take us there. We got to go check this out, So actually, I took them there, and here's the weird thing. The tombstone had been replaced. Probably because of the crack. I guess they might have got the monument people to replace it, or whatever the situation was. The tombstone was replaced. Okay. And I'm sorry, Ann. You came in a little late, but yeah, you might have to go back and listen to it. But I'm gonna recap it here in a minute, okay? But the interesting thing was the tombstone had been replaced, so I don't know if it got struck again or not. Since then, I haven't gone back in years to check. This was about maybe 10 years ago that this happened. But when I went back the second time to it, I still got that eerie feeling. I just did not like that. It was just like I was on evil ground. Okay. And here's the interesting thing. And this is what a supposition on my part. But if, listen to this, what I'm about to tell you. If at the very moment they buried him in God's earth, and this was a regular cemetery that was not a churchyard, okay? Churchyards are hallowed ground, okay? They're blessed ground. This was just a commercial cemetery, okay? Anyway, if at the very moment they put this guy in God's good earth, God sort of had a sign like, I don't like this, even being in my earth, kind of a thing, okay? It was sort of like, this is an abomination to God, this guy, even in the earth, okay? And I have seen places that has happened to, that lightning has struck places that were evil places. I won't get in houses that's happened to as well. And they were burned down and things like that. I can go on, the list goes on and on and on. But I have to wonder if this guy was that bad. No wonder his tombstone got struck. And that's the story of the case of the struck tombstone, okay? But it was a very strange, bizarre, and it had a vampire thing to it, okay? If this guy was that evil, and he was a true vampire, no wonder God didn't like him being put in the ground, okay? And I would like to know, and like I say, you can't just keep going to people and ask them these things. People get mad at you. I've always wanted to know. I've been always kind of listening to see if somebody ever said he came back or anything. Okay, just in case. I have never heard any more about it. Lightning is a pretty definitive smiting, John says. Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's sort of a bad sign right there. Absolutely. But at the very moment you bury someone, they had to leave the graveyard. They couldn't even finish his funeral because this terrible thunderstorm hit and lightning struck that supposedly while they were leaving, they saw lightning strike the tombstone. That's bad. That's not a good sign, okay? That's all I can say about that. That is not a good sign. So, I've said this to someone not long ago. When they bury me, if lightning strikes, we'll know something, okay? But anyway, that is bad. That is not a good thing there. That's kind of one reason why I think I might have got a bad feeling there at that graveyard. Now there are others, and I'm gonna mention this. Other legends about tombstones. There's supposedly one where this man was so evil, and he would beat horses. He was just an evil, wicked man. And then they say when he died that a horse's head appeared. The silhouette of a horse's head appeared supposedly on his tombstone. And then there's another story about this girl who had a horrible life. She was done badly wrong, and she hung herself. And supposedly on her tombstone there appeared an imperfection that looked very much like a noose. You hear a lot of strange stories about tombstones. And I expected this to be one of them, but sure enough, it did have that crack in it. I said, this is an abomination to be in the ground. Yeah, it can be to a certain extent. It's almost as if, and there are some things, which is why I won't get into that tonight. There are some things walking around on God's earth that are an abomination, and they're not supposed to be here either. But like I said earlier in the broadcast tonight, this is not God's world anymore. It's been stolen. Okay, this whole world has been stolen. There is the Jesus called the God of this world was not his father he was talking about. The God of this world is Satan, Lucifer, whatever name you want to give him. I call him the nameless one, because we don't really know what his true name is. Because his name is not really Lucifer. He is Satan. Satan means adversary. That's not his name, though. We don't know what his true absolute name is. Some speculate that his name was Samael, but that's supposed to also be the angel of death, too. But anyway, we really don't truly know. The Bible has never given us It's given us a description of him, but never his name. So he's the nameless one. And he may be such an abomination that he no longer has a name. Okay. Kind of like Voldemort in the Harry Potter thing. He was the one who shall not be named. When you have a name, there's a certain amount of spiritual power to that name. Okay. That's why demons will never, hardly ever tell you their real name. Because if you have the name of someone, you can have a little power over them. That's why I tell people to guard your name and your reputation well, because your name was written in the book of life eons ago before this world was ever founded. Believe that or not, there is actual biblical proof that you were known to God millions of years ago before this world was ever created. Your name was in a book somewhere. Just make sure your name don't get erased to the end of your life, okay? That's the main thing you got to watch out for. But God knows you. He has known you from the beginning of time itself, because God has no beginning and no end. But He's no longer the God of this world right now, folks. You got to realize what's going on here and the evil that is in this world. This world has been stolen, and it's got to be taken back. I think death is of the devil. Perhaps the apple of the tree was the knowledge of death and disease. It is the output of sin. The wages of sin are what? Death. Think about that. The Bible plainly tells you that. But anyway, there is a physical death and there's spiritual death and hell. And like I said earlier, there's a place worse than hell. Let me say that again, Dennis. There is a place worse than hell, and that is the lake of fire. That's where hell and death are going to end up, along with Satan and his angels and anybody else that sells their soul in over to the darkness. That's where you're going. Nobody's going to put you there but yourself. God ain't going to put you there. No. You put yourself there by your choices and decisions that you make. You got to remember that. But there is a place worse than death. There's a place worse than death in hell, and that is that lake of eternal fire that will never be quenched and has no end ever. Think about something. It's hard to wrap your mind around something that will never come to an end. That is horrible to think about. But anyway, that guy probably, I would say, if the rumors were true, and they were, I believe he was no doubt, without doubt, a satanical type vampire. Okay, I believe he had that power. He may not have been a living dead vampire, but he had that witchcraft vampire thing going on. And like I said earlier at the beginning of this broadcast, my friends, and that's a show for another time, there are many types of vampires, just like there are many types of werewolves, and there are many types of demons. And by the way, demons, vampires, and werewolves are all the same thing. Okay. But that's kind of bending your mind. I'm not gonna bend it too much tonight. But anyway, that's where all this originates. That's the origin of these things. Remember what I said about the origin at the beginning of the show. When you understand the origin of something, it helps you to understand it immensely more when you know where it comes from, and that way you can kind of see where it's going, And that's the way that ball bounces. Let's see, Dennis, was there any grass or nominal amount going on? Good. Overbuilt, it's like I said earlier, you might have to go back and watch the beginning of this. There was not a blade of grass growing. And the grave it had been, this was probably, I was there 5 or 6 years after the initial burial and the lightning strike and all that, okay? And, when they dig your grave, there's a little bit of a mound. But eventually, the reason they do that, I have a good friend who was a grave digger, by the way. And they do that for a reason, because it will sink. It settles. And so that mound eventually settles, it will be straight, flat land. And that had already happened, but there was not a blade of grass growing on that. I found that weird. That's what gave me the heebie-jeebies. It wasn't a dandelion or anything growing on that grave. That was very, very strange. And but now when I went back years later to check the tombstone again, and it had been replaced, there was grass growing on it then, a little bit sparse. It wasn't real thick, but it was sparse. it was almost as if the evil was draining out of that plot or something. I don't know. You take it for whatever you think it's worth on that. What do you think about energy vampires? Absolutely, they are part of this thing. Like I said, there are different types of vampires. They feed differently from other vampires. Some vampires drink blood, or they want the adrenaline in your blood. Some vampires want your life essence, the energy of your soul. They some will take your psychic energy out of you. It just goes on and on and on. They feed in different ways. Some will take your breath out of you, take the breath of life out of you, or take the blood of life out of you, whichever way they operate. Okay. They are bad news, and they can be demonical. They can be humans with demons. They can be wannabe vampires. I call those also human vampires. The goth people, some of them are that way. They're wannabe. They're giving themselves over to this dark lifestyle. What do you expect is going to happen? Just like that series I told you about at the beginning, that outer range, that demonical feeling I got from it tells me that what is really truly behind the mask of this thing. Okay, and that's what's behind a lot of the mask of the vampire. It's demonic, without a doubt. The earth does purge things, burying evil, curse things, a way of neutralizing. Absolutely, that's why you bury Ouija boards. The good earth will, but it sometimes almost as this guy was so evil. That's why lightning struck. It was almost like it was a terrible thing for him to even be buried or to touch God's earth. But like I say, I have seen locations like that. I have seen items like that. I have seen houses like that. They are almost just too evil to remain on this earth, in that respect. Compost your curses. Right. There you go. That's a good thing. I like that. Okay, Dennis, both times you went, that's confirmation pure evil because very little grass was there. That makes sense. Evil curses water, it seems, to the plants. Yeah, I felt the same way too, Overbuilt. Absolutely. But like I said, I remember, thinking that, hey, the grass is slowly beginning to, it wasn't all the way on it, you understand, but it was like it was, and this was like, it might have been it may have been about 4 years later. I'll say that for sure. It might not have been as long as 5 years after the initial time, but it was, I think, about maybe 4 years later. But I would say that was probably in the neighborhood of 10 years after the actual burial. Okay, put it that way. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Woo Rider. Thank you, sir. But anyway, that's my case of the struck tombstone. I found that to be very bizarre, and a very macabre type case. I can talk about, like I say, I can't name any names. I can't really tell you the truth. Can not remember the guy's name. It might have. It was. I think I want to associate with a color, like it was black. It might have been brown or green or something. It was the name of the color, something like that. I'm not sure. Looks like you got your hair cut, and then it looks good. Well, it's a little bit. Yeah, I got to lower the ears a little bit there. It was getting a little long. People were mistaking me for Bigfoot, and that's not good. You get shot like that if you're not careful. The house I grew up in, John says, was bad, haunted. It ended up burning down, and we rebuilt. Stuff still happened, but it became more so. I did that outright. Fire and earth, water and air. Okay. The elements will usually take care of extreme evil eventually. Some work quicker than others. Fire and earth seem to work quicker in some ways than water and air and all that. Eventually, though, I think evil will eventually fade. But it's kind of like what Shakespeare said. The evil that men do lives long after their bones are interred. And that is true to a certain extent. Evil never dies. END, evil never dies. Cleansed by fire, but not entirely, huh? Well, you can only burn so much, John. That's the way that goes. Good talk. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome, Phoenix. It was an interesting case. And like I say, I'm working on developing my video series, The Midnight Road. And when I get that going, and I've got some new equipment now, and I'm getting ready to start filming, definitely. You're going to love The Midnight Road excursions into the unknown. I will be telling a lot of my cases on that, a lot of my family ghost stories that I've got a lot to share. Uh, Somebody asked me the other day, said, Dennis, how long have you been in this paranormal stuff? I was born ready with it, my friends. I was born into it, okay? I was born ready. You said there was a girl there when you went to the cemetery that is possibly a vampire, Monica. Oh, yeah, that was the case that was in Charleston, South Carolina. I was in one of the I can't now for the life of me remember which cemetery it was, but there are two main old cemeteries, churchyards, supposedly. They're very old. They go back to the 16th century. And I met that girl, and she told me she was a vampire. I shook her hands, and let me tell you, folks, I have touched a lot of dead people in my time, and that was like shaking hands with a corpse. Okay. And like I say, there was just that. There was no. Sometimes you can kind of feel the life. I can to feel the life and the warmth of someone. I couldn't get anything like that. It was just like a dead person. Okay, that's what struck me so strange. It wasn't her just telling me that. It was the confirmation light for it. When somebody tells you something and then it kind of points in that direction, you have to pay attention to it. But that was a very strange incident. Forget about the bad I saw at the end. That could have been coincidence. Although when it comes to the paranormal, I don't believe anything such as coincidence. But the bat was icing on the cake. Look up and you see this huge bat. And I'm going to tell you that bat was huge. I've seen bats. Bats are only usually, the biggest bats I've ever seen are about like that, okay? This bat was 15 times the size of a regular bat. A lot of people say, "Oh, you saw a hawk or an eagle." No, 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 no. I know hawks and eagles. This was a bat, and it's the biggest bat I've ever seen. And it was very strange because all of this took place in late evening, and it was around about maybe 5 in the afternoon, something like that. And it was like maybe an hour before dark. It was a cloudy day. I remember it was an overcast autumn day. And when this happened, I do remember that. It was very strange for a bat to be at that time of the day on top of all the rest of that stuff. But she believed, without a doubt, she told me, said, I am a vampire. She told me I'm 230 something years old. Uh, she practically said that she lived in that graveyard. Practically almost. She didn't come right out and say that, though. But she just said this place is like home to me or something like that. And she was very freaky encounter. And if she was not a vampire, it was still screwy. Okay. But to me, like I said, I didn't perform a whole lot. I didn't pull a mirror out. I didn't do all the vampire stuff on her. I didn't have time. I would have loved to explore that more. I really wanted to talk to her more. But I mean, she was just gone. What can I tell you? Where she went to this day, I cannot tell you, and how she got gone that quick, because I could see through that whole cemetery, and there was no way she could have gotten to that quick. It wasn't that huge of a cemetery, but I mean, just that quick. Me looking that up, and she's gone. I even walked around looking behind tombstones. I always try to investigate anything thoroughly that happens, and that was just the strangest thing to me. She just disappeared that quick. We have small bats. Yeah, all bats are pretty small unless you live in India or in New Guinea or somewhere where you have the big fox bats and all that. Why would she reveal herself like that? Do you think? I think she was sizing me up. I think she was checking me out, and she said, "I'm gonna see if I can freak this guy out." You know. And what better way to freak somebody out than tell them the truth? Think about it. I think she was sizing me up to see what kind of reaction I was going to have, and I might have been a potential victim in something. By the way, I was wearing this, and I'll think back on that. I was wearing my cross that day. I've had this cross for 50 years. Okay, I dug it up years ago. This cross, I always wear it. It's always with me. It's always over my heart. And I remember that day it was outside my shirt. Maybe that's what saved my life. I have no idea. I really can't tell you. I have a lot more questions, and I definitely have answers on that incident. See, a bat hit my face on a motorcycle in Mexico and clawed me. Oh, yeah, you don't want that to happen because they got rabies. They carry rabies badly. They acknowledged she might have been trying to feed off of fear. That's another thing, yeah. Well, she didn't get fed that day. I wasn't scared of her. I mean, I was just sort of like not shocked. I was just sort of curious, you know. As Alice in Wonderland says, curiouser and curiouser, you know. That's me. I was very curious about what's going on in a vampire. Okay, you don't run into them every day. I wanted to ask her some more questions. I did ask her one question. I said, "You mean you're in a vampire society?" I was interested in that because I'd been reading about him. I've been reading about Anne Rice and some of the stuff she was talking. She said, "Oh no, I'm the real thing. I'm a real vampire." Take it for what it says. I don't know. Like I said, she seemed like the real deal to me. I'll be curious too. That's true. Eternally curious. That's eternally curious. Yeah, that will probably get me killed one day. It has come close to getting me killed a good many times. Addicted to knowledge, truth, tell you the truth. I've had a knife put to my throat. I've been shot at. I won't get into it. I have faced death many times in many different ways. I've been in situations. I was in the middle of a doggone black mass one time, and they were getting ready to pull their hoods down. I had to leave. They were getting ready to pull the hoods down and get naked and sacrifice somebody. I believe I had to leave. If I hadn't left and snuck out very carefully the way I did, they would have caught me. I would not be here telling you this, talking to you right now. These people do not play with you. They will do away with you very quick. You will end up being one of their sacrifices. Okay, they will not play around with you. Be very careful where you go and who you associate with. Overbuilt says here too. Okay, we've all been there, haven't we? Overbuilt, absolutely. So, but anyway, um, I've done some freaky things. I'm, trying to accumulate the knowledge that I've accumulated, trying to understand the things that I wanted to understand. Did she show the fangs? No, I never did. Never did see it. And I could. That would have been one of my tests. Come on. Well, can you show me your fang? Can you fang out for me? Can you do the vampire? No, she didn't. I didn't get that. Didn't get that far. The whole meeting might have been maybe 10 minutes, but I doubt it. It might have been 10 minutes, but I doubt it. It wasn't that. I don't think it was quite that long. The whole thing took place that quickly. Like I said, if I had been expecting something like that, if I had known she was on that, I could have got a little bit more deeper into it. But maybe that's why I'm here now. Maybe I didn't get deep enough into it, or she didn't get deep into me. But anyway, beware of honeypots. Oh yeah, honeypots sometimes have bees in them that will sting you. So, but anyway, that was the whole story on that. And of course, the other one about the woman that came to me because her mother was a very evil person, and she absolutely believed that her mother was sort of like a dream vampire, was coming back in her dreams and haunting her in her dreams. And she said her mother had, long teeth like, and she thought her mother was a vampire, was coming back as a vampire. And I spent a whole week almost staking out that, no pun intended, staking out that cemetery to see if that really was what was going on there. Uh, that was freaky. Fang out, yep. Don't fang out on me. Okay. If you fang out on me, I got a stake, okay? And, but anyway, that's why Salem's Lot's one of my favorite old TV series, by the way, TV movies. I have two tongue depressor cross around here somewhere. I always got from that movie, by the way. But vampires are real. They do exist, not just the way they're not like Dracula. Gotta remember, Dracula was sort of very gothic, by the way, was very Victorian and gothic. But Dracula is a novel. We gotta remember that. There was an actual Vlad Tepes, but he is sort of, if you go to Romania, I have some friends in Romania. If you go to Romania and you mention Dracula, he's a national hero. He's sort of like George Washington to them. He's not a vampire to them. That's Bram Stoker, okay? But I told you the other night when we were talking about the Fae where I think Bram Stoker got the idea, and that was the Celtic vampires. It's where he got it, definitely without doubt. I know it's probably where he got it. But he needed a name for it, and that Dracula, that was the name he was looking for. But the actual real Dracula was far from being a vampire, though he was an evil person, I think. He's a very cruel person. You don't go around staking your enemies alive on stakes around you and then have dinner in the middle of them and be a nice guy, okay? I don't think he was in the Rotary Club, all right? But that way. Well, it's staking out. Yeah, that was a stake out. I did have a steak with me, but that's another story. I mean, anyway, I think it's possible for a vampire to hang out without hissing and doing the face. I think so. That's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, actually, where a lot of that started in that movie Friday Night. But I mean, I tell you where they get that at, okay? And I've actually seen this with my own eyes. I have seen demonically possessed people, their facial features change. They become very reptilian, snake looking things. I have seen that happen. What is ever the evil on, listen to this, and I said this on Jessica's show the other day. Whatever darkness is inside will eventually show up on the outside. That's in the eyes, in the face, or whatever. It will eventually show up on the outside. That's what Jesus said in the Bible. If your eye be full of light, then it's good. But if your eyes be full of darkness, how great is that darkness? And when that darkness in you will eventually show outside. People, let me tell you this, even if they are very good at hiding what they truly are under their mask, eventually they will, sooner or later, give themselves away. One way or another, evil will always tell on itself. That's one thing you can depend upon evil to do. Evil is self-destructive, and it tells on itself. Vlad the Impaler. I always wanted to visit Romania. I always wanted one on my bucket list is spend a couple of weeks, not one night, not one weekend. I want a couple of weeks in Castle Dracula. Okay, I definitely want to hang out there. They say it's very haunted, and you hear wolves in the woods and all that stuff. And I want to hang out there. That's my place. And you could say that his taking was necessary. He was intimidate other nations from attacking. That's what he was doing. It was all PR stuff, John. He was trying to scare his enemies. It's like I saw an episode of Grimm the other night where these two reapers came after the Grimm, and he cut their heads off, and he sent their heads back to the guy that sent the reapers. That's just a little subtle message, and that's what Dracula was doing. He was giving the Turks a little bit of a subtle message there. You come to my place, you're going to get this, Hey, Red Pillfisher, good to have you here. Been a long day, huh? I want to go back to the catacombs in France. That is a freaky place, girl and gone. Absolutely. I've always wanted to visit there, but you got to be very, very careful. You can get easily lost in those catacombs and never find your way back out again. There have been some people that are still down there, unfortunately, what's left of them, in those catacombs, because they go for miles and miles on different levels. You're talking about a maze-like thing. That's a very dangerous place. I would want to be like the story of the Minotaur. You remember his what was her name, Adrante or something? She gave the hero a spool of thread, and that's how he found his way back out of the labyrinth of the Minotaur. Yeah, you would definitely want to take a spool of thread with you and hope it don't break while you're down there. Vampires are, yeah, they are junkies. Some of them are. I can't say that word without getting banned on here, okay? Let's say they're all about adrenaline. Vampires are, and some other people are too. Then if you get to hang out in the castle, you may get to see a few dog and werewolves, the worst critters. Oh yeah, well, bring them on, That's all I can say. Like I say, I'm an old monster hunter from way back. I have been on the trail of all of them. Dogman, Bigfoot, met Bigfoot. We made eye contact one night out in the woods. And I've come close to a lot of them. I have to tell some more of those stories later. I tried to go to the areas outside the tour in the catacombs. Oh, yeah, there are a lot of interesting things. So, the interesting things about the catacombs, Girl Nergong, uh, or can I call you Marine? Which, um, the interesting thing about that is they had to empty the cemeteries because they all got full. That's where they put the bones down in the catacombs. You've got a lot of dead people down there. That has to be a very freaky place. Absolutely. Can't I don't see how it could not be haunted. Put it that way. Those Who Hunt the Night by Barbara Hamley was some very interesting, well-written scene set in the Paris catacomb. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, what's the difference? You hunt the night or hunt the shadows? I used to be on a team that was their motto. We hunt the night. That was a good motto, by the way. But most of the time, it ain't just at night, my friends. It can be in the daytime. You know that I'm gonna tell you something freaky. More paranormal activity actually takes place in daylight than it does at night. I'll say that again. More paranormal activity takes place in daytime than it does at night. It's just more noticeable at night. So there you go. Vampires in the desert seem to be a reality. Vampires everywhere. You remember the queen of vampires, Lamia. Lamia is the mother of vampires. She's half snake and half woman. She will seduce you into the woods, bite you in the neck, and drain the life out of you very quickly. Lamia. And there is a horror show host I used to like to watch. She was on the Haunted Theater or something like that. Her name was Lamia. Also, she looks a whole lot better than Snake Woman, by the way. But anyway, I thought she looked better than Elvira in my book. Lamia can, ooh. Of course, I know she's mostly a wig and everything, but she looked good without the wig. My name is Josh Witchery Vampire Story on his podcast, one of the scariest things ever. Yeah, I remember somebody telling me something like that. The brand new Ghostbusters is pretty good. I haven't checked that out. I have to look into it. That was a gosh awful one with the one time they put out before this last one. I hope they did better. That other one was awful. Very lame. Like I say, Hollywood just cannot do it anymore, folks. They're just too darn woke. They're pushing their little agenda, whatever it may be, whatever it may be, and we know what it is. It's a bunch of demonic stuff. But anyway, they're pushing their agenda and the stories and the characters. Every bit of it's suffering terribly. I would not give you money to watch that some of that stuff. Tell you the truth. Let's see. I'm reading some of your comments here. I got a little more control of the comments here. I'm trying to go to the areas outside the tour. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Paris, by the way, that's got, Paris has a lot of canals too, just like Venice. Although Venice has more canals. Uh, but Paris is a fascinating city. Absolutely. The city of lights. It's strange that Aaliyah played the Queen of the Damned in the Anne Rice Vampires, the same name, and she died plane crash. I think it was really an accident. I don't know. I'm wondering about that myself. Kind of strange. I don't know. I heard rumors that that's just rumors, that she was deep in drugs and stuff. I don't know. I really don't know. But some of these, I also heard rumors that she was in a satanic cult. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to do a show on this very soon. You would not believe, folks, how many people in Hollywood, I'm talking about very well-known actors, I'm going to get a list of them, and I'm going to give the names out one night, are really atheists. There must be 100 atheists to every one star in Hollywood that are atheists. It's just amazing. What's going on with that, I went to see some graveyards in Paris. I didn't see anything of high strange, but felt the energy. I was sure because they're very old, and like I said, they've been cleaned out a couple of times. Um, my favorite place, if I were going to go anywhere besides the catacombs in Paris, would definitely be the cathedral. I would definitely have to go to Notre Dame because that's where one of my favorite stories was based. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And one of my favorite scenes in the old movies, and I'm talking about the George Lawton movie. That's the one with Maureen O'Hara in it, not any of the remakes. The original Hunchback of Notre Dame. I felt so sorry for that guy. He loved that gypsy girl so much. He never had any love in his life. Got treated very badly. And at the very end, he watches the girl he loved ride off with another man. And he's hugging that gargoyle. And he says the last line in the movie, "Why weren't I made of stone like thee?" How very bad, very sad. Great story, by the way. Great story. And it was beautiful. I was there in 98. I'm glad you got to see it before it burnt down. They're rebuilding it. I don't like rebuilt stuff, though. I'd rather see the original thing. You were very lucky to do that. Satanists love to hide behind atheists. Oh, yeah. Oh, if you talk to anybody in the satanic church right now, they'll tell you this spool, okay? This spool. Oh, we don't really believe in a devil. That's just a symbol. We believe in mankind and all this stuff. It's the biggest bunch of bull crap you could ever be handed, okay, folks? It's crazy, okay? It's something else. And that's like another lie that Vegas will tell you. Well, our God's been long before the Christian God. That's not true. That's not true. Well, you can't make people love you. That'd be some black magic to someone's will. Yeah, but it's unfortunate. I mean, it was a sad life. He was so, well, that the girl was not going to pick him because he was deformed and hunchback and all that, but he had a good heart. That was the thing about the hunchback. He had a good heart. Although he'd been treated so bad his whole life, they whipped him, they kept food from him, and the priest, the high priest in the cathedral, used him like a toy. I mean, it was horrible, horrible. But yet he was a good person, and he could love. Of course, it was love unattainable though for him. Unfortunately, that's the way that goes. I think we've all have tried to have people or wanting people that we thought we could love that didn't love us in return. That's never a good thing. Absolutely not. There's a Notre Dame in Quebec too. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a football team too, but that's I won't get into that. Anyway, I was. I'm gonna tell you what. I had played football in my time. A lot of football back in my younger days. I was a captain of the team for several years. But I never wanted to watch it. I was never interested in watching it. I liked to play it. Same thing with baseball. I like to play baseball, but I never wanted to watch it. I never sat around watching that. It just, I don't know. It was one of the things I'd rather be doing it than watching it. That's like horseback riding. I'd rather be riding a horse than watching somebody do it. I would enjoy that much better. You can like someone and be friends with their good heart, but it's important to be attracted to your man. Oh, absolutely. But the thing about that, John Fulton, and this is a mistake a lot of people make. There are two big mistakes made in love. Okay, one mistake is him or her is the only one that'll make me happy. That's not true. You are the only one that can make you happy. Nobody else can. You can't depend on that family. They can give you a better life. And there's nothing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about making you happy. You are the only person to make you happy. And the other big mistake in love is they've got some, faults, but I can change them. The man thinks, here's the way it goes. The woman a lot of times thinks, I can change him. And the man thinks, she'll never change. And that's where you have problems, okay? I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole nother can of worms there. No, I've been to South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame, beautiful campus. I went to church when I visited. Uh, yes, you can't make, nobody was put on this earth to make you happy, although it is a God given right to pursue happiness, okay? But you do that through your own self. You can't depend on somebody else to make you happy. You can't depend on a dog to make you happy. You can't depend on a cat or a bird or a book or a television set to make you happy. You are the only one that can make you happy. And you got to have the mindset for that. Unfortunately, a lot of people never learn that lesson in life, but that's the way it goes. Well, anyway, I have rambled on. It's almost an hour and a half into the show here, and I hope you enjoyed my case of the struck tombstone. Remember, I got a lot more stuff out there like that, and we might have to get into some more next time on Paranormal Eyewitness. That's what we had tonight, Paranormal Eyewitness. I was the eyewitness to that, okay? And I can vouch for myself if I'm ever the eyewitness, okay? But anyway, watch out for this symbol. You know now what it is. The seal of Asmodeus. He is one of the worst princes of hell you can ever run into. He is a bad dude. He supposedly commands his own army, but I'm not going to get into the demonological part of that tonight. But he's a bad dude, okay? Watch out for him. Watch out for all these symbols because they are secret language and they're telling you something, okay? And that may be said in the hood so you can make it in a house. All right, excellent. Let's see. All right, I appreciate you all being here tonight. It's a dark night out there. I'm gonna give you a little Shakespeare, okay? 'Tis now the very witching time of night, when graveyards yawn and hell itself breathes out contagion to this world. One of my favorite lines. And one more thing I will leave you with tonight, before I say goodbye, and that is a very famous line from Dracula. Okay, and it goes like this. It's one of my favorites. I will not let you walk into the unknown alone. And that's my promise, okay? I will not let you walk into the unknown alone. We'll do that together. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you all being here tonight. And we're getting close to 700 subscriptions here, okay, folks? We're pushing it. We're pushing it, okay? We're getting close. 600, I think. 670, 71 so far. So we're getting there, okay? So keep pushing for us. Keep hoping for us. We'll finally make it. And I want to thank you all for spending this time with me tonight. And I will be lining up some more guests definitely in the future. Who knows what else is coming down the line? I'm working on the Midnight Road. We all need to take a little trip down the Midnight Road. You will be glad you did, okay? And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. If you do, don't get caught, okay? And I hope you have a great week next week. Do we get together again next time, okay? And until then, remember, the doors of perception are open. And via Candidos.